Okay, take two. This is Michelle from Eka Circle, and today my guest to speak about natural living is Rachel Brenton Morrow. And I have started this series just getting to know holistic, aligned people that are building dreams for developing conscious community. And I'm just going to invite her in. Accept. What's going on?
Hi.
There she is. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Finally.
We get in the. I know. Sorry about that. I don't know why. Sometimes it just doesn't want to accept my request.
That's all right.
But I'm glad
The
you're here. I was
The universe finally
speaking to you.
answered.
Always.
We
Well,
are.
rotten, aren't we? Sweet. From the first time I met you, we were talking herbs and making our own products and cooking, all these things that I'm interested in, you're interested in as well. And I just wanted to ask you, how did you get into that journey, or always been there for you?
Well, my grandparents had a property and it was in town, but it was a huge block. It was like sort of 3 house blocks long. And so they always had gardens and herbs and did their own canning and all of that kind of thing. And so did my aunt and uncle. They had a farm. So I spent a lot of time when I was a kid out in nature, swimming in the creeks and riding horses and learning how to ride a motorcycle and all of that kind of stuff. And so I always had an affinity for nature and plants and all of that kind of thing. And my auntie Val had a wood stove, and I used to love helping her make bread and bake cakes and have the Sunday roast and do all of that, you know, carrying the timber in and putting the little bits in the firebox and, you know, all of that kind of thing. And I guess that's all where it stemmed from, you know, making your own preserves and your sauces and your bread and your butter and all of that. They had cows, they had chickens, ducks, geese, they had turkeys, they had, you know, they would have paddocks of crops. You know, we would go and pick turnips and corn and all of those things, you know, and Dad would walk up with little field mice and give them to us, and we would hold them and then let them go, and, you know, lizards and all of those beautiful creatures. So it all yeah.
The farm stock. Like, I'm not farm stock myself, but my mother is, and my grandmother before her. My mother grew up on the farm, and maybe it's that. But like, I baked a sourdough. I have a new sourdough starter. I baked sourdough before I came to work today. All of these things are so integral to our, and it's kind of like a whole couple of generations
Absolutely.
have lost this skill set. Would you
Sewing,
say?
knitting, crochet, all of those crafts, you know, even boys who play with cars and build stuff, you know, like my dad built himself a little plywood rowboat in his garage, and he used to fix everything we owned, you know.
Yeah, we've become a really disposable society, and you and I were joking about that on another conversation that we had recently, in that you've gone plastic free at home and you're wrapping up your husband's snacks in little pencil cases, and we had a chuckle. We know what this is as soon as you introduce change, right? Nobody really loves change, and yet we can't keep going at this level of non-sustainability. We can't keep being these disposable. We're disposable with relationships too. Like, nobody wants to do the hard work anymore. They just, like, you know, people have changed, haven't they? They've become not particularly resistant.
We've become quite weak in character and morals, I think, as well, which is sad. But I think it's also the fact that, as the saying goes, hard times make good men make
Yep.
soft times make soft men make hard
So
times.
do you do you perceive then that like spirits leading into, like we all know, most of us that are watching this conversation know that we're shifting into a golden age. Would you say that's why we're
Absolutely.
going through a hard time now, to just
Yeah,
our
absolutely. It's
attention?
definitely waking people. The more people I
100%.
speak to, the more I realize are watching and learning and realizing that we are going to have to go back to the basics, because it's the only way that we're going to be able to sustain our way of living.
Yes, I agree. And it also, this style of living involves community, local community. It involves sharing, and we've talked into those things many times. When did you come up with the idea for your e-magazine? It's called The Natural Way. So I've popped that in, and I will put the link in this post for anyone that's interested in having a look at your magazine. How
So
did that birth?
I've been doing a lot of work. As you know, I did your 9 weeks to a new you. And then I went from there to um, doing a course with my mentor, Kat. And I did a lot of inner work on my inner child and my limiting beliefs and where they started and clearing them. And um,
Yeah.
not long after I finished the 6 weeks of that, I listened to another beautiful female mentor coach, business coach, and I was watching one of her trainings, and it wasn't even what the training was about, but it was something that she said in that training, and it was, now, when you're building your business, I want to see you everywhere. I want to see you on podcasts. I want to see you, doing interviews. I want to see you in a magazine. And my brain went, oh, magazine. I should write a magazine. And that was it. That was it.
I love.
Yeah. And as I
Wow.
said to you, after
And
doing all the work, I didn't go, oh, who's going to want to listen to what you have to say? You don't have anything, important to say. And where do you get off thinking you can write a magazine? All the things that I would have said 12 months ago to myself didn't even occur to me. And it wasn't,
yeah,
yeah, it
that's
wasn't.
that is the power of the reprogramming of the subconscious mind, because our consciousness creates our reality. And you have, like, if we just mentioned, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, that we've got two generations
Mhm.
that don't know how to cook anymore. A lot of, they don't know where vegetables come from. I've got clients, young males, that have never eaten a vegetable. And sometimes I'll do their coaching session at a cafe, and I'll be like, it's on me today. And I'll make sure I just to get them, because for me, it's the whole body, mind, spirit. You can work on one aspect. They might come in for anxiety, or they have an entity, but you can't work with the spiritual if you're not working with the physical and the
Absolutely.
mental, right? It's all interlinked. So tell us about your content in the magazine. Like, what are you hoping to share there, or will it evolve?
It already has evolved, and I've only done 3 volumes, but it's now up to 24 pages. It started at about
Wow.
18 or something like that, but every issue has sections in it, obviously. And so the first one is, at the moment, I've started the journey of creating habits. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to remove the bad habits and replace them with good ones. So it's a step by step. So it's
Yep.
going through the way habits are formed, how your brain decides what habits you're going to choose, all that. So it's every issue, it moves on from where we were last time. So that's why when you subscribe to the magazine, you'll get the first 2 volumes free, because you really have to start there.
Amazing. And I love the, would you, like, I always give my clients permission to use my content as well, because I feel like we're layering up on the message of what each is teaching. And we spoke into that too the other day, that if there's any control from a coach or somebody that's giving knowledge on their platform, to not work with somebody else, they're completely missing the point. And then I would question whether or not they're doing it for the appropriate reason, because as we realize, we need to learn from a community in order to teach community. And I learn things from you and you learn things from me. And so there's no competition there when we work like that, because you have your people to reach, and so does all of us have our people to reach. That in itself is a vibration. Do you have a boundary? Like, have you always wanted to do this, or why did you start with the habits?
Because if you, sorry, Maeve's just attacking somebody. It's all right. So your habits are the way that you form your identity. So if you want to be a writer, you don't aspire to be a writer, you be a writer. So you sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and you write. So you don't plan to be a writer, you just write. If you want to,
you just
and if
do
you
it.
want to be a cook, you don't plan to be a cook. You do things where you're cooking. So your habits actually, they sort of shape your identity. Now, your identity is what is going to shape your goals, which is the next section in volume 3, is talking about setting goals and how to do it in an easy, simple way. And I always have, like, if I reference somebody, like in the goal setting one, I listened to a podcast of Mel Robbins. And so I list the podcast date, and then I also attached the workbook that she mentions in the podcast. I attached the link because she gave it away for free, and it was really, really good. It's a really good thing for focusing where you want to go, what you want your goals to be. And so the habits leads into the goals, and then the goals lead into where you want your life to go, who you want to help, all of that stuff.
100%. I love that. But I mean, I suppose what my question is, have you had to change habits? Is that why you've started your magazine with habits? Because I know for me, I started my course with attachments because I realized that I had an insecure attachment growing up. I didn't feel secure in the household that I grew up in. And so working with clients over the last few decades, I've noticed that if I don't go to the root problem, and so you've identified habits as an issue that keeps coming up. What's happened in your personal life that you might be interested in sharing? Not asking you to be too vulnerable, but
I have nothing that I'm not going to talk about.
Yeah,
so
you should. Even with addictive personalities, I'm an addictive personality, right? I've had to swap out negative addictions for great addictions, positive addictions.
So my change in habits happened, as you know, I had a heart attack in 2016. So because I was only 56 kilos and really fit, my cardiologist had to work out why I had a heart attack. And so when we had our little session and we were discussing things, he worked out that I had done some damage when I was younger, when I first moved from home to Sydney, because where I come from in Kempsey, we didn't have takeaway when I was young. You know, we didn't have McDonald's, we didn't have Pizza Hut, we didn't have any of that. I moved in with family, and that didn't work very well, so I didn't spend a lot of time there. And so I basically ate out every day. I smoked, I drank, and I was an absolute chocoholic. Like, I would have chocolate all day, every day. I would eat a whole bar of chocolate of a night time, you know. But that was only sort of between, say, 21 to 23. And then I got married when I was 25. And then I had my
Mm-hmm.
daughter when I was 28. And so I had a quite stressful first marriage. Then I was a single parent. And then I got married again. And there was a lot of tension in that as well because we had 3 children between us. We had outside influences, as you can imagine. And so our lives were not ours to live. And so it was really stressful. I was also running a proprietary limited company. I was everything. I was the bookkeeper. I was the person who got the contracts. And I was also working full time. So
Wow.
stress.
Yeah, stress. So a major factor, but you've really embraced the whole
Yeah.
holistic lifestyle now, right? Like, um, was that
Yes,
as the result of the heart attack?
probably because I most heart attack sufferers suffer depression. So I went through,
Yep, right.
oh, I'm going to be a burden on my family. I'm going to be sick for the rest of my life. I'm going to be, you know, all in that negative headspace. And so
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I said when they told me I was having a heart attack in the hospital was, I can't have a heart attack. I'm getting married in December. I've waited 14 years for this. Do you know what I mean? That was the only thing I could think. And I thought I was going to die before I finally got to marry my husband. Like, this is how your brain works when you're in that trauma
Yeah.
situation. So anyway, I went to rehab. I went to cardiac rehab. And I'm like, I said to Greg, what is that going to do? I'm going to be running around with a bunch of 80-year-olds. Like, what context is that going to have for me at 49? So I went, and I'm so glad I did, because just that solidarity and that sharing made you realize that it wasn't just you, and that you can survive it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can get through it.
It's really interesting.
Mm.
I've never heard that before, that you said that most heart attack victims suffer depression, which makes sense energetically to me, in that the heart chakra is the space for love and joy, but the lungs behind it are where grief sits. So, you know, and you would have been grieving the loss of your first marriage and the stress of being a single mum and the financial kick on for all of that. So hats off to you for having a turnaround. So perceivably, when something's presented like that, it seems like a bad thing, but for you, it's actually been a catalyst for a great shift
Yeah,
and change and a second
absolutely. So
chance.
not only did I change a lot of my physical habits, so I I also changed my emotional and my
Mm.
spiritual, and it was a huge thing because I taught myself not to stress about everything, to finally let go of the small stuff, you know, like, so I'll be driving down the street now and somebody will cut me off and I'll be like, hi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same. Like, see you,
yeah.
buddy, on the other
And it's
side.
like, well, he
Like,
obviously needs to be somewhere before me, and you know.
yeah. Or, you know, they maybe had a blind spot. When we sweat the small stuff, I feel, and see what you think, but I feel it's us wanting to grip onto control because other aspects of our life feel out of control. And so it's just us trying to do life by
Yeah,
controlling what little things that we can. But you can't
no,
control anything really,
yeah,
can you? Other than
yes, your
respond.
reaction is the only thing that
Yeah.
you can control in any situation. And the other thing that
Yeah.
I learned was that if I worried about things, I would get more
Mm-hmm.
things to worry about. And so that's,
Oh yeah, I think creates the vibrational attraction. It sounds like a prayer to the universe
yes.
in that that's
So
what you want. People
yeah,
don't.
well, we had been doing that. Poor me, why
Mm,
me? You know, like we had so many bad
mm,
things happen. And it was just like, we just couldn't seem to get ahead, couldn't get a start. And so
mm,
I just went, you know what? That's my wake up call, because I lost my dad when he was 54.
mm.
So he's been gone 31 years now. And
Wow.
so it was like okay, I need to change stuff. And so for me, that heart attack was the catalyst for an amazing life that I'm now living. Even though we don't,
Yeah.
we haven't changed where we live, we haven't, you know, we don't have any more or anything, but we're so much happier. And it's rubbed off on Greg as well, you know, like he's now exercising again, like really training, looking after himself. He's drinking the Kangen water religiously and he loves it. He's hooked on it. But he reckons it helps him with his
Good.
recovery after exercise, and he's eating really well. Like, we don't even have sauces or condiments of any kind. We have no sweets in the house because Greg had a really sweet tooth. Like, he would be looking for dessert every night. And I was trying to make healthier and healthier
Yeah.
stuff, but now he doesn't even feel like it. Like, he'll have a glass of juice or an
You,
apple.
you just off
Mm.
it, don't you? Um, and like for anyone that's watching this that wants to implement some eco-friendly things into their home, what would you advise they start
You
with?
always have to start small, because anything that you try to do all at
I want to
once will
say,
become overwhelming. Um,
yeah. And I also think it's important to say to stop judging yourself in that process
yeah,
of the gradual change, because if we, like, my family still
mm,
buy stuff that I wouldn't buy, but
yeah,
I'm doing my best here, and I give myself grace for that because it's the little changes that create big
exactly. Yeah,
changes,
yeah.
right?
So change is like habit; they accumulate like
Hmm.
compound interest. So
I also like to in the supply and demand, that if there's enough conversation around this type of thing, that we're not putting our money or our energy into corporations, we're insisting that they make changes
yeah,
by what we're supply
yeah.
and demand, right? Basic. So you think that, oh well, us talking on this, how many people might see this video? Maybe 50, but if 50 people stop buying plastics out of this one video, then
Yeah.
that's been really successful as a conversation. And plastics mean, if you stop buying plastics, that means you stop buying processed foods. That means that you stop buying things like toxic toothpaste. That means that you stop buying toxic shampoos and you move into things like shampoo bars. There's so many things that you can implement that
Yeah.
actually end up saving you money. As you and I know that we can make a lot of what. Are you going to have
I have
recipes and things in this
um,
magazine?
recipes for household products. Like, I did a bath scrub, and I did a fabric softener, and a laundry powder, and a laundry liquid. So they're the ones I've done so
I
far.
love
And I also will
I love
do
it.
like smoothies and juices and stuff like that. Just when
Yes.
I can fit them in the spaces. Um, but yeah, the first place that I started was my toothbrush and toothpaste. So the first thing I did was I went and
Yep.
bought a bamboo natural fiber toothbrush and
Yep.
a natural toothpaste. So
Yes.
fluoride free,
Yes.
no
Or you
chemicals. You can make your own. You can make your own.
Yep.
You can get,
Yes.
everyday household products and make your own. It's that easy. That
That's
easy.
right. The good old bike soda and peppermint
Yeah,
oil, or even
yeah,
charcoal or coconut oil. That,
charcoal and coconut's good. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yep, 100%. But don't
no.
coconut oil
Yeah.
down the drain. So it's
Yeah.
making tiny adjustments, which I'll be honest, family won't want to follow immediately. But if they're like the Gregs, it's osmosis. Like I've noticed that my daughter's implemented a lot of changes, and it's just happens vibrationally actually
Yeah.
as you role model it. It's so cool, isn't it? Like even the taking of herbs daily. My husband the other day says, "Oh, my filter's due to be renewed on the Kangen, and I haven't gotten to have the replacement one yet." And he goes, "The water tastes different. There's something wrong." So I was like, "Wow, they're starting to figure it out for themselves," which means that we don't
Yeah.
babysit, we just role model it, and that feels so.
No.
That's
And
not
so
controlling
I
either.
every issue of the magazine we do a different section. So I started with the bathroom, then I went to the kitchen,
Yep.
or it might have been kitchen, bathroom, I can't remember now. And this issue, it's the laundry. So it's all the things that you
Awesome.
can swap out in the laundry. And it's not just the fact that they're plastic free, it's that they're non-toxic as well. So we're going for the natural, healthy alternative in a sustainable packaging. So it's it's really hard to completely get rid of your plastic. And please don't just go and throw a whole bottle of washing liquid out if you cannot afford to replace it with something else, okay? Because that is wasteful as well. So you just, as you need to replace something, that's when you do it. You implement those changes as you need to replace in your household, because otherwise you're just you're just sort of throwing away stuff that you really can't afford to replace yet.
Great advice. And if people see that it's costing less, they're more inclined to continue with the change. But it does take an adjustment. I know when I adjusted my washing powders and stuff, my family were used to that fake smell, which is addictive actually, and that's why they put it in there. These fabric softeners,
the fragrances,
manufactured fragrances that affect everything, as you know. Your endocrine system's affected, the toxicity levels are really high. But it's not just what's affecting us, it's what's affecting the waterways, because all of these chemicals that we're using, and I love that you've started in those three areas, because they're the three wet areas in the house, right? And it's all going the waterways, and just as it affects the human body. I mean, your human body doesn't decompose now, they say, in a coffin, because of all this preservatives and chemical shit that we're ingesting. And don't even mention the microplastics going into the human body. But it affects Mother Earth too. That's why I've made my motto, heal self, heal Earth. So we start small, exactly like I said, by just starting in one focused area of the household, use what I've got, and then implement some changes, gradually using natural things, and then next. And then don't insist on your family that they do the same. Just role model
you'll be surprised, because in the laundry, I actually went from laundry liquid with a fragrance that would last up to 30 days to soap berries. Soap berries. And my husband went, "What's this?" Because they, you put them in the little bag and you throw them in the washing machine. And I said, "Oh, they're the soap berries." He goes, "What do you do with those?" I said, "That's your laundry liquid." And he went, "What?" And he goes, but anyway, so I explained how they work and everything, and he was like, "Oh, okay." So now he'll go out, put a load of washing on, he'll get the soap berries, and if he wants, he'll put a little bit of oil, like fragranced oil, on the bag, and that just fragrances the laundry. Or he'll put the fabric softener in that's made out of vinegar and citrus peels, so it smells like citrus. And he just automatically does it now. He doesn't even think. Yeah.
I love that, Rachel. If anyone's listening and they have been prompted to to create something, what would your advice be to them that, you know, like you with this magazine?
Just do it.
What would your advice
Just do
be?
it. Don't care
Just
what
do
other
it.
people think, because you cannot live your life on other people's opinions. You can't pay your bills with other people's opinions. You can't achieve a fulfilled life if you're worried about what everybody else thinks. And you know what? 90% of the time, they're not even watching. They're not even thinking about what you're doing. Everybody's like, oh, but they'll, you know, people will think I'm crazy. So what? Crazy's great.
If you want to attract your tribe, step into the first level of authenticity, which is birthing what's within you, actually. And I love that you have, this is your sole purpose, actually, to educate. I've got a cramp in my foot. To educate others, to not just help themselves, but to help all of humanity. And these teeny weeny changes that seem insignificant, but they're, imagine when the world catches up and everybody's making these changes. This will shift industry. This will shift the way that we live. This will mean that we live longer and stress-free. This means that you'll have a whole group of people that never knew in the future, like our next generation will say, what is fabric softener, Mum? Never heard of it. You know, because we're back to putting vinegar in the water to make towels fluffy. And it's simple little things that you can learn. And are you open to anyone reaching out to you if they have any questions
and
on this?
In every episode, I keep saying that. Well,
maybe really it's going to birth into that.
Kat and I have a problem with the word issue when it comes to the magazine, because we try to get rid of issues. Our issues, and so it's like a volume or an edition or something, you know. So every edition of the magazine, we try to show people how to live a simpler, healthier, more peaceful life.
Yeah,
that's my whole aim. So every issue will have something on minimalism, and that doesn't mean, you know, a blank canvas with 2 black lines on it and nothing in your house. It means just getting rid of the clutter so that you can think clearer. Your house is easier to clean. It saves you time, saves you money, all that. So that's in there. There's also, as I said, each section of the house we will be deplasticking, and then there will be lots of non-toxic recipes and tips, and there'll also be whatever comes into my head. I've got one of the sections is on my mind today.
I love that. And I'd like to finish with, I'm so grateful for your honesty and your ideas in this conversation, but another thing that I have observed with homemade things, or getting back to basics, is that you're putting a vibrational ounce of love into it, which will never come from a factory unless it's a really small business, that it's a family business that are really, the same with food, right? Yeah, you never the takeaway or the McDonald's that you're getting in something that's prepared by somebody that adores you. So even that is going to change how you feel as you ingest, because we ingest all of these chemicals whether we like to think about that or not, right? So we may as well be ingesting all these alkaline things that
there's another thing with something I learned the other day with your soda, with your Coca-Cola, and having it in a plastic bottle. The Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, all of those, the aspartame, when it's sitting out in the sun, actually turns into formaldehyde.
Yeah, it's carcinogenic. I've got a lot of clients that have come in with irritable bowel syndrome or unexplained problems with their gut, and all I do is a quick assessment. They've been to doctors and, you know, treatment centers and everything, and it's always that. It comes back to get them off it. They go home and tell wifey, I'm off the soda, and wifey rolls her eyes because she's been saying that for years. What's your intuition, people? Because we are what we eat, we are what we think, and we are what we use. Because those things are in our environment, and anything that
Yes.
comes from a natural source like plant is going to heal us. I think it's common sense, actually. We're a generation or two or three that have lost our common sense due to cleverness.
Yes. Yeah. And that Coca-Cola thing flashed into my mind when you said that we don't decay anymore because formaldehyde is
We
a
don't.
preservative for
I
medical
know.
samples.
It's scary. It's scary crazy, right? Like we're meant to go back to earth, ashes to
Yeah.
ashes, not anymore plastic to plastic. It's weird, isn't
Thank
it?
you.
What a world. Well, thank you, Rachel. Looking at what you do next, onward and upwards, sis. And I love that you're a like-minded soul and that you're interested in building
No
a
worries.
conscious
Thanks so
community.
much,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Love you.
Appreciate. I'll drop the e-magazine link in the bottom, and anyone that's interested, you can. It's online. I just did a Google search for it and reach out to Rachel. Thank you.
Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Love you. Bye, honey.